You've reached the Peak Perspectives, with your hosts, AP and VC. Get to know Denver and the surrounding area through the people who make it special. We sit down for engaging interviews and discussions with individuals who have unique connections to the Mile High City and beyond. Welcome to Peak Perspectives of Colorado. It's where we uncover the heart of Denver. We do it one story at a time. I'm your co-host, VC. In today's episode, it's a great conversation with someone you might already know. It's Elizabeth Fisher Woodard. Here's your host, AP.
Beth, good to see you again. Glad you're doing well. Beth, it's really good
You
to
too.
see you again after these many years. What we like to do on this is introduce people that are known, but not on a more intimate level. So we'd like to dig a little bit deeper, let people know more about you, your background, how you got into what you're doing now, and just kind of take it from there. So that being said, I know you were born and raised right here in Denver. So
That's right.
Let's go back at the beginning. I don't necessarily want to go back to elementary school, but give me a little background on what it was like growing up in Denver.
Well, I'll tell you, it was idyllic, really. Those were the days when you went out and played with your friends, and you just had to be back by dinner time, and nobody were watching. And I was the fourth of five children, and so by the time they got to me, it was like, we're glad you're gone. I just remember hanging. There were so many kids in the neighborhood, and we were riding bikes and playing games, and it felt very safe. But at the same time, I realized that it was pretty white centered in my neighborhood. I went to Teller, Gove, and East, but at Teller, there were no people of color. There maybe was a couple Chinese kids and Japanese, but that was kind of it. And until I got to Gove, did I really start having Black friends? And then I didn't realize, and you're not going to believe this, but maybe you will, but at my 30th reunion, I believe, of East, I found out that there were four little Black girls that integrated Gove Junior High in 1964. One of them was Jerry Butler Grimes. And I remember the teacher sitting here next to me, and our parents didn't make a big deal out of it. The teachers didn't. Just, here's a new girl, and you show her the ropes. And but she said at our 30th reunion that, oh my God, they were terrified because they knew they were integrating Gove Junior High, but we didn't know. And then, of course, by the time I got to East, it was 40% Black, perhaps.
Yeah.
So that's when I really realized, I had a pretty sheltered elementary school experience.
Right. Well, we don't know what life is not like while we're living in that bubble, so to speak. And I guess it's not until you get out and look at other things that you realize, wow, we were sheltered. We were privileged. We were poor, things that we weren't aware of at the time.
Exactly.
So I had the pleasure of meeting you at East.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a little bit of what it was like there, other than, opening your eyes to multiculturalism.
Yeah. And, looking back, there was always a place for everybody, it seemed like, at East. And I was involved in a lot of different things. Back then we called ourselves Eat-Ups, or we were called Eat-Ups because we, belonged to different groups. And you and I met in concert choir, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently we were in Angel Airs together.
Right.
Was that with Miss Padboy?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, when we get to talk about the film that I'm involved in, Philip Bailey has some really good things to say about Mrs. Padboy and what he learned from her.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just involved in a lot of things like getting out the Angelus yearbook, Tri-High White Jackets. You know, they don't even have white jackets anymore. That was the girls' pep club. And I'll tell you, most of us did pep club because we didn't want to do gym. Got out of our gym credit by doing that. But that said, there weren't any girls' sports anyway.
Nope.
Not until Title IX, not till 1973. So even if I wanted to play field hockey, there were no teams. You know, there was no girls swimming. I could have been a swimmer, I think. We had so many talented, strong girls that, you know, could have played basketball. And boy, anyway, that was not to be until 1973.
Right. No opportunity.
Yeah.
When I was looking at the Bible, I said, well, maybe I can pull a few little things out of there.
Okay. What was the Bible?
And your biography you sent, and actually I'm looking now, I could almost write a book from your accomplishments coming out of school. But the one thing that caught my eye,
What was that?
and I wonder how many people are aware of your first job out of college.
Probably not. Probably not.
I mean,
But I was a blackjack dealer because there were no teaching jobs available. I graduated, unfortunately, in December, and so that was part of it. And I resisted, you know, my whole college career, getting involved in the casinos, but I did graduate from University of Nevada in Reno, and damn if it wasn't the best paying job. And so once I did get a teaching job, and it was a couple of years, I had, sorry about my dog.
okay.
I had to start earlier and earlier in the second semester doing a second job because I made more as a part-time 21 dealer than as a full-time teacher.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but that's how they did things in Nevada then. I hope things have changed.
Has your skills changed at all in your blackjack dealing? Or did you just put
You
them in
know,
the closet?
it's like riding a bike, you know.
You
And
never.
I don't play myself very often because I know the odds.
Yeah.
I always play by the house rules. Yeah.
So then you got in from there, teaching. It seemed like that led you to a lot of different things, the counseling and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about the counseling aspect and how that works.
Well, I think being a good teacher, you do want to get to know your students, and it involves doing a lot of talking and mutual respect. And I learned that from my teachers at all through DPS actually, but especially at East, where teachers really took an interest in you. And I tried to incorporate a lot of those things. I was really only, you know, but I was a teacher. I was never a counselor except at the Race Relations Center in Reno. Now, when I started out at UNR, there was a saying that was going around the campus that Nevada is the Mississippi of the West.
Well,
Okay, so you don't know what that means. And I was just, I was very involved in the Black Student Union and some of the protests. In fact, there's a great picture in one of the yearbooks. And I don't know if you remember Jim Smith from our class, Al.
Not
I believe
offhand, no.
Okay. He came up, I believe it was like 1971 or something like that, maybe to apply for law school. He was going to University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Okay.
There happened to be a protest going on that day, and they had the doors to the student union were blocked, and there were a lot of my black classmates, but then there was Oh, Jim and me, the two white people, school in Denver, Colorado, right there with them. And that was captured. You know, there were policemen all around. But I just had to, I found that a couple of months ago and I said, wouldn't you know? You know, there were no other white people around, but there were Jim and there was me. So that's my story. And I enjoyed my experience in college, but you know, I was married and I was a mother, so that kind of precluded all the real fun stuff that you all got to
partying.
okay.
Now, I was also looking at your adjunct professorships. Are you still doing that as well?
No, I am retired, so I could spend more time volunteering.
And on the volunteering, I can't think of anyone offhand who has spent more time and done more for East High alumni than you. Every time I look up, there's your name involved with the reunions and everything. And it is, I don't know if anyone has told you, but it's greatly appreciated. We need someone to take
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still an eat up, you see.
Yeah.
But I just love keeping in touch. And I think that's part of my love of history. You know, I minored in sociology. So I love people. I love talking. I love their stories. And I like to help them tell their stories.
You know, speaking of that,
Mm-hmm.
you love stories and you love listening. Is there one story that had a huge impact that was shared with you uh, about an individual or some person in life?
At East? Oh,
Just in your journey,
oh my goodness. I have so many, Victor. That's a tough.
not one that just stuck out though, just one that's.
Oh, well, you know, there are so many, but in the film, we interviewed one of Al's and my classmates, and that's Bruce Tawara. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and he was whatever the big guy at in ROTC.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I this is what I love about knowing the people that I do, that I'm not afraid to call them and say, hey, Bruce, I need to find, you know, someone who was in maybe a Japanese internment camp because I want to show the different groups that came together at East as angels. And he said, well, actually, my father was in an internment camp.
Whoa.
But his story,
Hmm.
which we couldn't tell in the movie because of time constraints. But this one story just blew me away because I majored in 20th century American and European history in college. That is what I taught. And he told me something I'd never heard of. He said, have you ever heard of the Peruvian Japanese? I said, as in Peru? And he goes, yes, Peru. And I go, okay, tell me the story. And he said, well, my father was born in Peru because in the 1920s, the Peruvian government wanted some Japanese people to come over and show them the latest and greatest farming techniques. So it was either his grandfather or his father came to Peru, and they were settled. There still are a lot of Peruvian Japanese there. They have Japanese restaurants. Japanese culture is there.
Oh.
Well, okay, fast forward to the 1940s, and you know what happened at Pearl Harbor, and you know what our government did with an executive order to create these internment camps. Well, the Peru government said, oh, we're going to send our Peruvian Japanese to America to their internment camps. I had never heard this story before.
Wow.
Over 1,000 were sent, and and Bruce's father was sent to Crystal City, Texas. And from there, I mean, they didn't know English. They knew Peruvian Spanish and they knew Japanese. But here they were sent to this awful place. And they actually then subsequently went to New Jersey. I didn't know there were internment camps in New Jersey. Anyway, because of our Governor Carr opening up, saying to the world, we're we are open to the Japanese people. And so that's how Bruce got to Denver. I mean,
Wow.
he was born in Denver, but from Peruvian Japanese parents. And so those are just the, and I know that's going to run long, but that's the kind of stuff that I've been learning as I work on this film. And I guess I've been collecting these stories my whole life, because going to East, I mean, what a terrific experience. And I always think, Victor and Elle, that had we learned more about our ancestors and talked about it, it would have made history class a lot more interesting.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I guess you found your way back home.
Yes, I did.
Nevada.
An old friend.
Yep, and got involved in a lot of volunteer stuff here. You want to tell us about some of the things like DCPA and the?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always loved going to the theater, and I got involved with Denver Center Speakers, and then because of that, that was when the Scientific and Cultural Facilities Tax District, that's a mouthful, always was. I got involved in that campaign, and just doing basic, PR and getting the word out, doing speeches, going to Rotary clubs, things like that, talking about it was 1 penny on every dollar spent or $10, but I don't even remember. But we were the first in the nation, and we have a very thriving arts community because of it. So that was a lot of fun, a lot of great people. And then because of that, got involved in creating the Denver School of the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
And my granddaughter actually went there for a few years, starting out in 6th grade, I guess, 6th to 8th grade. And then she did end up going to South. Couldn't convince her to go to East.
Well, there's always a rebel, if you'll pardon the pun. So now a little bit more about your work with the Angels Foundation.
Yes, East Angel. It's been short, mercifully, from East Angel Friends and Alumni Association to just East Angel Foundation. I first started out on the Alumni History Committee, and from there was asked to join the board. And this is my 6th and final term. I did scholarships, and that was that was so rewarding. Again, interviewing these students, very deserved students, and we just have such limited funds. But it was such a learning experience for me to understand what some of these kids were up against, and yet they still thrived and they want to go to college. And they're all going and doing well. It was so rewarding. So we have a class of 1968 scholarship. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I might be a little late to qualify for it, but
so it's that's just one of the things, and then from that we knew we were going to be turning 150 years old in 2024, and we've got a SAT word for you, sesquicentennial. And so not only are we celebrating 100 years of the current building of East High, but we are celebrating the 150 years of all of the East High schools in Denver. There were two others before the current building. So sesquicentennial and centennial, that's what we're celebrating. So we were gearing up for that a couple of years ago. And how I got involved in the film, to this day, I really cannot tell you.
Well, more than just involved, I see executive producer there.
Well, yes. And we have a terrific director in Robert Dean, and he was from the class of 72. And he had recently been retired from Dateline, where he was a producer for 20 years.
Ooh.
He was in Denver visiting his sister and said, well, I have some free time. And he came over to East and asked, what he could do as a volunteer. And he taught a couple of classes about video and television production. And then he got to me and we had lunch and he goes, I really want to do something for East. I just don't know what. And then we had another lunch and he came to me and he said, now he disputes this. He says I came up with the idea. And I said, no way would I have been that crazy. But he said, I think I found a way to give back, Beth. I think I'd like to produce a film. Are you in? And I said, yeah, I am, because it's kind of right up my alley. Again, stories, right?
Right.
And so we have subsequently interviewed 40 people on film, and we have a 90-minute or a little longer film that is now being edited. So everything's, in the can, and we're just adding music and graphics and that kind of thing. But we will make deadline, and that is the premiere of the movie is September 26th at East Auditorium.
I was just getting ready to ask you that very same question. So get out of my head, Beth.
You asked the question.
Okay,
Tell us again about the date once again.
Sure. It is September 26th, 7 p.m. at the East Auditorium. We hold 1,600 people, so seats are still available. And I will get you that the website where they can purchase tickets if any of your audience members would so wish. The thing about this film, and by the way, the name of the film is called Angel Power. And the tagline is 150 years of East High excellence.
Right.
What is it about East is what we try to explore. We don't come up with an answer why so many well-known and not so well-known, but incredible people have graduated from East. And I think partly it's because we were the only high school for until, Manual was, I believe, 1898. And then the first other directional school, east, west, north, and south, in case we were wondering about that, I believe it was North, and that was not till 38. I mean, I'm a little off there. I forget. But anyway, East was around, a long time before another school was built. And then Manual was built. East was the academic school, manual training.
Right.
Okay. So East was always the academic school.
Now, prior to, well, let's do this. What is the cost of admission for the film?
Okay. Well, we're celebrating 150, and we were trying to mess around with it. It is a premiere. It is a fundraiser for the film. So it's $25 admission for adults. And there's always, a little charge. So I believe the cost is going to be something like $28. Students are $1.50.
Yes. Students and ex-students.
I wish. See, okay.
Now, also prior to that afternoon, there's a luncheon as well.
That's right. But that's just for our class. That's just a reunion of the class of 1968. Okay. And the reason I did that was because I had Carla Madison all day, and I said, "What the heck? Let's have my class members come," and that's how I sort of operate in my life, from research to actually planning an event. It's serendipitous. I look at things like, how can we make this work and make it work better, and maybe have some fun along the way.
Sure. So I've purchased my tickets for the luncheon already.
Good.
So now,
glad to hear that.
Does that include the film?
No, I wish it did. Oh, I wish it did. what I found out as executive producer, I'm supposed to find the funds, to make the film. And one thing I found out is I guess I'm not a very good salesperson. So we are just it's a shoestring budget, and thank goodness for Robert Dean out in Hollywood. He still lives there and is still working on films and television programs, but he has just devoted umpteen hours to this project.
Good. Well, that's East High Angels for you, though.
I think it is. I think it is. Everybody I've asked has been very enthused and willing to help where they can.
Good. Okay, well, I can't think of anything else except I will be at the luncheon and definitely at the premiere as well.
Wonderful. And there's a film festival the following day featuring East High grads who have made movies. And we're going to have 3 movies the following day. One is a Harold Lloyd film, Harold Lloyd, silent film star.
Okay.
One of the movies, he was hanging from a clock tower. We say, oh, well, that had to come from East High. 3 clock towers in the Denver area.
Mm-hmm.
And the other film is a film that Hattie McDaniel starred in. And she was the first African American to win an Oscar for a role as in Gone with the Wind. Correct.
Yes,
and the last film, and we're the reason this isn't as well known, we're still trying to get the rights. And so I hope by the time this airs, we will have the rights to show the film Foxy Brown by Pam Grier. Now, Pam Grier will be there, and representatives from the McDaniel family and the Lloyd family. And that's going to be a wonderful experience all day at the C Center. So that's a separate cost, and you can go to one or all. That'll also be up on the website. So it's the first week, starting on the 18th. There are events at East, and people have been working very hard on that. There's going to be a rededication of the school on the 18th, and dignitaries will be there opening up the cornerstone. There'll be an open house on Saturday, a football game, of course, because it is homecoming, and all sorts of events on the Esplanade, things that people did decade by decade. Like we're going to have Victor show us how to do the hula hoop from the 50s.
Oh, okay, Beth.
Yep. And so that ought to be a lot of fun. And so I encourage people to look at that website, because very few people have just done an amazing job pulling this all together. The film is just a very small part, and that's the following week. So we hope to see as many people as possible. And, because East High history is Denver history.
Yes, it is.
And from that, it's really the history of the United States. But we did it right. And not to say we didn't have some stumbles. How much time do I have? We got to go?
No, just go.
One of the things that really interested me, I've come to know Pernell Steen, who needs to be on the podcast. And, he's just a wonderful guy. And he started talking about his class 1959. So put your heads around this. He graduated in 1959, one of 8 African Americans, 4 girls, 4 boys. What he told me, and here, if you know Pernell, he's genius level, I think. But he was taking all the advanced courses and doing well. He took Latin, for goodness sakes.
Yes.
He's a very fine musician, classically trained, and has started to focus more on jazz, obviously, in the last 20 years or more. But he was told, as were all of these other Black children at East, that, they really weren't college material, and they ought to go find something to do trade-wise. Well,
manual labor.
There you go. And he said, no, that's not going to work for me. And he got a scholarship, and he went to CU, and the rest is history. Yes. But it was systemic, this racism. They were told by their counselors, but they didn't find that out, that everybody was told this, until like they talked about it, years later at their 20th, 30th reunion. 6 of them went to college and 2 of them got married, but that's what, a lot of the girls did back then.
Right.
But fast forward just 10 years to 1969, a year after, Victor's class.
Yes.
Blacks comprised 40% of the population, smattering of Hispanics, some Pacific Islanders and Japanese and Chinese. But what a tremendous learning opportunity that was for the school, for the counselors, for the teachers, and how wonderful it was for us to see teachers of color teaching. And that made, I didn't think about it at the time. It was Mr. Biffle and Miss Porter. And, but to see them had to been, well, you tell me.
It was good. Coming from Smiley, we had a couple, Mr. Blanton, Regis Groff.
Okay, sure.
Um,
His daughter Tracy, by the way, is very involved in this 150th.
Yes, I saw her name on there as well.
Okay. And so you had experienced that at
to some level, because Mr. Blanton, who's always been probably my favorite teacher, was so involved with us outside of the classroom. He coached our basketball teams. He set up our little safety patrol. He did so much. And we could go over to his house if we had a problem that we needed to talk about.
Oh, wonderful.
So these were things that I had never experienced before, And unfortunately, he passed away, way too young. I don't think he was 50.
Oh, my goodness.
But he left such an impact that it's with me today. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yep.
Wow, it's a good story.
Let's circle back around real quick, Beth. Again, Angel Power.
Yes.
Give us the date, the time, that whole weekend schedule for people who are anxious to give their $1.50 and also their $28.
Okay. Well, remember, there's hall events starting on the 18th, and that's a time for people who maybe haven't been at East in a while or have never toured the school. There'll be tours as well, and you can go all the way up to the 4th floor and see the museum that Marcia Tremmel, you know her, Victor, and Beth Gower and Richard Nelson helped put together. It is a marvelous compilation. Anybody has any mementos or anything that they think need to be in there, they can actually see that now. All the yearbooks, for example, all the yearbooks and spotlights have been digitized thanks to Marcia and getting together with the class at CU. So you can go online. If you've lost your yearbook, we might be able to sell you one. We have a few of those to sell, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the first week starting on the 18th through the 20th, ending with the homecoming game. And then the following week, we've got the premiere of the movie, September 26th, 7 p.m. in the East High Auditorium, followed the next day by the film festival at the C Center right across the street. Now, that is where seating is really going to be limited.
Right.
So they don't have the room that the East High Auditorium does. So if you want tickets to that, you've got to jump on that early, and we'll provide that website for you in writing, so you can have it in graphics. Okay.
Sounds good. And we will get that up as soon as you get it to us so people can see that as well.
Great.
Well, Beth, we appreciate your time. I know you're very busy,
Yes.
And you're welcome anytime. Something comes up you want to talk about, so let me know and we'll get you back on.
I'll tell you, I think this is my swan song. I will always be involved, but I want to do some traveling now. Alan and I always wanted to do that, and unfortunately, he didn't make it past 2022. But I'm gonna carry on it is time consuming. I've noticed that, and
Yeah,
I don't
yes.
know what it's going to be like. Just kind of what
Nothing
will
to do.
to do. So I look forward to that.
Good.
And of course, I love being with my granddaughter and daughter, and lots of family things still going on, and lots of friends are still. Some people have just moved back, like Jeannie Brooks has moved
Yes.
back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jeannie
Yeah.
Brooks, 80. So it's truly wonderful to reconnect. And some of these people, Al, it's just like picking up right where you left off.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think that 3-year experience at East was like nothing else in your life, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Would love to go back and do it all again, but
Oh, I don't know if I could, but it shows what a public school can be. We've had our
exactly.
problems, yes, but we worked through them. Whether it's the shootings that happened at East, what did the kids do? They went out and started protesting. Um, uh, the gun culture, and they had marches down to the Capitol, and so it's still a very activist high school, and I love that. But you know
Yeah.
what's even more important? Um, I just heard this from the superintendent. The graduation rate at East is, I believe, 92.6%, but district wide, the graduation rate is 80%.
Mm,
East is still doing something right, wouldn't you say?
yes.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All
And
right.
that maybe that's angel power, and that's the
There
name.
you go. There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Beth. And everyone have a
Thanks
great
again for joining us in our conversation today. Hope everybody enjoyed this with Beth Woodard, and it's right here on Peak Perspectives of Colorado. If you like additional information, check out the website. It's peakperspectives.co@gmail.com. Beth, we love you and looking forward to the event coming up.
Thanks so much. Bye, Vic. Bye, Al.